a workshop on exercise and heart health, in my opinion, is probably best done in person, but due to some unplanned events, we're doing it virtually. And regardless of where you're consuming it or taking this information in, we're going to be sharing a lot of really great information that is going to absolutely have a positive impact on your health.
And yeah, we apologize for getting this out to you late. Our grandmother actually was brought to the emergency room, and our oldest son, Jude, who's 9, has been kind of processing everything, and it's been just amazing to kind of hear how he's processing this right now. He said, I'm really glad that Grandma Helen has been able to see 5 of her great grandkids. And he said that, I'm really glad that Grandpa and Gigi take such good care of their health, because I want them to be around to see my kids' kids. He said, I want them to be great-great-grandparents. And, I was thinking about like our big why. So we're going to give you a lot of information. We're going to give you the what. But if you don't anchor onto a big why, nothing's going to change in your life. And, we were really reminded with this, with this happening, just why health is such a high value system in our family. I grew up with a lot of health issues, and my big why is I don't want my kids to have to go through what I went through. I want things to be better for them. I've watched my family members die of heart disease, many of them of cancer, and I want better for our kids. And so I'm so thankful that we were introduced to chiropractic and the 5 essentials and this lifestyle and value system of health, so we can reach our God-given potential for the time that we're here. But my big why is really driven by my kids, because I want their health to be better than ours. And by building them up, I know that our future grandkids and our future great-grandkids are going to be even healthier than we are right now. I know Zach talks a lot about building generational health, and that's really what we're looking to do, because we can change the genetics that are passed down to our kids. We can change, just because we were dealt certain genes doesn't mean that it's going to continue on going forward. So that's our big why, and I encourage you guys to anchor on to figuring out what is your reason why health needs to be a value system for you and your family, why you need to put time and energy into your health, and why that needs to happen now.
2020 would have easily been a year that most people would chalk up to uncertainty, doubt, fear. Certainly fear is a big thing that was capitalized on in just driving emotion, driving actions that we do. And when you look at that year, for most people, it's been, I was doing this, but COVID. I was doing this and this and this, but COVID happened. And it's been used as, for a lot of people, kind of unfortunately an excuse. There was a recent statistic that was just shared. About 65% of Americans just took time off. In shutdowns, they just stopped.
Physically inactive.
So if the significant majority of Americans just looked at, well, this shutdown happened, so I'm done. I mean, you can even look at how our country categorized fitness and health in general by saying that gyms and fitness areas were non-essential. There's not a significant importance. And if we say as a country we value our health, the actions that we took in 2020 called us out on that lie.
Well, and the fact that obesity was one of the factors that increased risk of death from COVID, and then we deemed gyms non-essential. I mean, we saw this past year obesity increase. People gained weight during this time. We saw health issues increase. Heart attacks and heart disease was continuing. I mean, and that's still, heart disease is the #1 killer in our country, and that didn't stop.
So if 2020 was a year of doubt, 2021 has to be a year of certainty and confidence, because our goal in life, our mission in our office is to allow you guys to reach your God-given potential, to see your lives change, to restore hope, provoke change and just see you guys reach what you're called to become. So for those of you that had fear and doubt in 2020, just know that Dr. Aaron and I have nothing but certainty and confidence that by making changes, by constantly pursuing health, you will absolutely live a better, more fulfilling life, and you're going to impact and lead the people around you.
And so we want to encourage you as we get into this workshop here that symptoms are a blessing. So when we have pain, when we get diagnosed with high blood pressure, when we're told that we have high cholesterol, when we start having digestive issues, when we have symptoms, they are a gift. Thank God for those symptoms, because it's our body letting us know that something isn't right. It's the alarm system going off. It's the warning sign. It's the fire alarm saying something is happening in the body that needs to be fixed. And if we stay in the mindset that our culture has of just taking a medication to cover up the symptom, or flat out ignoring the symptom, or chalking it up to just something that you deal with, we're looking at the problem is still getting worse in the body. The fire is still burning. We're never fixing it. And so the symptom is the gift, but it's on us to take the action to figure out what's causing the problem and make changes, because health is a personal responsibility. And I know that is completely different from what we are taught as a culture, but if there is a symptom, we have to look at all the 5 essentials that we teach in the office and figure out what can we control? What do we need to do to support the body, to remove interference? And the beautiful thing is that the body is created to self-heal. And that is the hope that we have, is that God did not make our bodies sick and weak and broken. We are created amazing. And symptoms are the body's way of adapting to survive when the environment isn't ideal. So when we're putting all these bad things into our body, when things are happening that are starting to destroy it, the body will figure out a way to survive. And the beautiful thing, though, is if we stop the outside damage, if we correct the environment, we make lifestyle changes, the body no longer has to adapt, and it heals 100% of the time. And that's the beautiful hope that we have, is that if we fall and have a cut, it heals every time. It doesn't matter what we have going on in the body, our heart, our lungs, every part of the body will heal if we remove the interference and correct what's causing the damage.
So when we look at and we talk about the idea of always healing, this can be looked at as kind of a double-edged sword, because our body is always adapting in favor of healing. It's in favor of life and survival. The things that make humans truly the pinnacle of creation is our body's ability to adapt to what we're exposed to. So when we get a cut, it heals. When we get a bruise, that's part of the healing process and the mechanism of healing. But on the other side of it, when you're eating things that are creating inflammation, when you're not moving your body, when you're bringing in a ton of toxins, or you're exposed to toxins, when there's miscommunication between your brain and your body, or your body's constantly under mental or emotional or physical stress, the body adapts. And it creates this genetic adaptation that turns genes on for survival, or turns genes off that are going to be health promoting, and it has to express those genes in a different way. So when we talk about the idea of genes being a set in stone, this is concrete, you're going to get it because your grandparents had it, that way of thinking has been disproven over a decade ago. There was a study, they evaluated the Human Genome Project, where they spent billions of dollars trying to map the genetic expression, the human genome, and pinpoint and target all of these different disease processes that are linked to certain genes. And what they found is that environmental stressors had significantly bigger outcome than the biological factors that were associated with disease. Now, you may have a genetic predisposition for heart disease, but that just means you have to work harder. You may have a genetic predisposition for obesity. You may put on weight differently or faster than all of your friends. That just means you have to work harder, and you have to be putting in the things that are constantly always building health, and stop taking in the things that are always building disease. Because when it comes down to your health, it's black or white. You're either building health or you're building disease. So whatever you're doing is either making you better or it's making you weaker, and your genes are going to have to adapt to that.
Well, and I look at it in my family, so I have family history of heart disease and cancer. So I spent years of my life when I had all these health issues and I wasn't introduced to this mindset, basically in this place of fear, waiting for a diagnosis. Like, you know, cancer runs in my family a significant amount, so just waiting for a cancer diagnosis. And what I love is that, you know, through what we've learned, it's no, I may have been born with those genes handed to me, but by the changes that I'm making and the things that I can control, I can alter the genetic expression and basically make sure that the health promoting genes are turned on and the cancer promoting genes are turned off. And like I'd mentioned earlier, the empowering thing with that is the changes that we've made. They found that prior to conception, the lifestyle choices that a father and a mother are making will literally turn on or off genes prior to conception. So the health I look at that we've been able to create over the years, we've been able to change the genes that are passed down to our kids. And so if you've been in a state of thinking, you know, I have heart disease in my family, high blood pressure runs in my family, if a doctor has told you that we've been lied to with that for years. So the truth is that you may have been dealt those cards, but you can play them well. And we can make sure that that's not going to be your destiny. And it doesn't have to be, but it means that you can't sit back and not do anything, or yes, that is going to be your destiny. But change your mindset of it into a place of hope that I can determine that expression and I can win this.
Well, you know, we use that expression, the grass is always greener on the other side, but you know, in reality, that's not true. Grass is greener where you water it. And if your yard or your lawn sucks and your neighbor's is great, it's not because they're lucky, it's because they're taking care of it. So it's the same thing with your health. If you're seeing people around you thrive and flourish in their health, it's because they're actively pursuing it. So it's 2021 is the year of confidence and certainty. So, you know, I think it's time we give you guys some action steps in that area.
So when we look at, you know, our heart, it has an amazing ability to heal. So I look at the body will always prioritize healing and protecting the heart because it is such an important organ. So I think this analogy is really good. People have probably heard of gout. You know, it's a buildup of uric acid. Pain in the big toe is usually a sign that you have gout. So there's different causes as to why the body is building up uric acid. But you look at uric acid is toxic to the heart. So the body will prioritize healing and survival by trying to get the uric acid as far away from the heart as possible. So what's the farthest area away from the heart? It is literally your big toe. So think about that brilliant intelligence in your body is something's causing increased uric acid, and the body's brilliant intelligence says, I've got to get this as far away from the heart as possible. And so it will push it into the big toe and start to store it in there. So we can take medications to manage the symptoms of gout, but you can see if we don't fix what's causing the increase in uric acid in the body, we're only managing the symptom, we're not putting out the fire.
How many of you guys do that? Like, something that you don't like pops up, you're like, oh, get it away from me. Like, she kind of does that with, you see it, you don't do it anymore with veggies, like hide it, like push it to the corner of the plate and like avoid it. Like our body, it's an innate thing that we're just copying the physiological response that our body has to a disease process. We're literally manifesting that in what we do with our actions. Like something we don't like, we get as far away from it as possible. Our body's doing it. I think that's hilarious.
Well, and you look at, you know, the ability of the body to prioritize healing, even with something like, you know, toxins in general, the body will push them away from the heart. So you don't really hear of heart cancer because the body is going to do everything it can to keep toxins and carcinogens that cause cancer away from the heart. It's going to push it into other areas of the body. So the body is brilliant, and the heart, thank God that our body can regenerate. Thank God that if we stop what's causing the damage, if we remove interference, whatever damaged tissue we have in our body, now it does take time to heal, but it will heal. And so, you know, if you're in a place right now that, you know, you've been hopeless, you've got to anchor onto that. The body will always heal as long as we are removing interference and we're taking that personal responsibility. So when it comes to heart disease, we're going to be going through here, identifying the cause of it, how we remove interference, how we move strategically, and how we balance our nervous system. And all of those things are important when we look at keeping our heart healthy and making sure that it can continue to regenerate and get healthier and stronger, as opposed to getting worse and more deteriorated overall.
So, the first thing, when we identify the cause of what's causing heart disease, with this being a more of an exercise-centered workshop, one of the major causes, aside from the obvious of interference from the brain going to the nerve of your heart, the major cause of heart disease, or one of the major causes of heart disease, is lack of movement, lack of use. We're not training our heart, we're not strengthening that muscle, because the heart is merely a muscle, and we're not strengthening it. We're allowing a disease process to set in, we're allowing an adaptation to take place.
So when we look at heart disease, we have to get down to it's usually a toxicity or deficiency. So we're not getting a toxicity of certain foods or nutrients or things that are not good for the body. We look at a deficiency in movement, not getting oxygen to the tissues. So that's where our personal responsibility comes into it. But I want to hit on a little bit with cholesterol, because we've been completely lied to about cholesterol as a culture. And still what people are being taught with cholesterol is completely wrong information that has been disproven, but yet we're continuing to get the wrong information when we go in for our doctor's visits, and what we see as far as advertisements for nutrition and stuff like that. So we look at cholesterol. We've been taught that cholesterol, we have bad cholesterol and we have good cholesterol. That's something that we've been lied to about. There's different types of cholesterol, but the body will never make anything that's bad for itself. So when we call, certain cholesterol, like the HDL cholesterol, we say that's the good cholesterol, and then we call the LDL the bad cholesterol. Do you know that you could not live if you didn't have any LDL cholesterol? You would die. It has an important function in the body. Now the ratios of those are important. We tend to, want to see different numbers within those, but it has nothing to do with good or bad. And overall, I would say that cholesterol has gotten a bad rap as the bad guy in general. So you think about what we've done with science is, we've looked at, people have their arteries are starting to get clogged and built up, and, where we can't have blood flow going through anymore. So we look in there and see what's in there, and they'll see, okay, there's cholesterol in there. So that's got to be the bad guy, because this is causing the arteries to become constricted and blocking the blood flow. So cholesterol is the bad guy. So cholesterol got the bad rap, but this is what is incredible to think about. Cholesterol is actually a healing agent in the body. Cholesterol shows up to try to heal and repair damaged arteries.
Well, so think about it this way. There's always a fire truck or an ambulance at a car accident. So by that way of thinking, if cholesterol is in your heart or in your arteries, that's the reason you have heart disease. That's like saying, well, the fire department is the reason there's car accidents, because they're always at every car accident.
I remember there's one of my mentors one time said that, so Superman shows up to save the day, goes to all the crimes, and then it's like we see the common denominator is Superman. So we say, well, Superman's the enemy. He's the bad guy, yeah. Even though he's showing up to be the hero, to try to save things. So cholesterol is not the enemy. Really the enemy and the cause of why the cholesterol ratios will become off and why it starts to have to go to the arteries to repair them, it's because of inflammation. So when we have inflammation that gets created in the blood vessels, and we're going to talk to you about what causes inflammation in the body, but you look at if the arteries are becoming inflamed and damaged, think about like a cut that is starting to, there's bleeding, there's damage. I think about like a pothole in the road, like there's damage there. So what the body does is it actually sends cholesterol to smooth out and try to heal the cracks in the lining, and it tries to repair it. But you look at if we have a constant source of inflammation from bad decisions that we're making. So what happens is we trigger inflammation, there's cracks, potholes, the body will send cholesterol to heal it. Well, the inflammation doesn't stop, so there's even more. The body sends more cholesterol, and you see how over time we just have layers and layers of cholesterol because we're not stopping the inflammation. During that time, the artery becomes more and more narrowed and constricted. So that's what happens. But if we don't correct what's causing the inflammation, the cholesterol is going to keep being sent. And then you look at the backwards approach that we take is we give somebody a statin to lower cholesterol. So we say cholesterol is a bad guy, let's get rid of it, let's lower cholesterol. Well, if you just stop the cholesterol, if the cholesterol is a healing agent, are we actually healthier, or are we interfering with the body trying to heal if we get rid of cholesterol? If we lower cholesterol without correcting the cause, if we artificially lower it with medication, the body is actually going to be sicker as a result of it. And they've proven it with the numbers. They found that more people actually die of heart attacks with low cholesterol numbers. I'm going to say that again. More people die of heart attacks with low cholesterol numbers because we are not addressing the cause. All we are doing is managing the symptom and artificially lowering it while the body is continuing to be damaged in the process. So it's not cholesterol.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would accept that our body is doing this thing over and over that's constantly trying to stop us from living.
The body's not stupid.
So when we look at it, trying to get out of that way of thinking and just logically work through something, if it doesn't make sense, there's a reason for it. Your body is rejecting this idea, and we shouldn't have to be convinced or sold a way of helping our bodies get stronger and healthier.
So if our cholesterol is continuing to build up in the arteries, we have to go to what's causing it, correct the problem, not just artificially lowering it with a medication. I think this is amazing. So LDL, specifically what we call the bad cholesterol, we have it in brain tissue, so it's necessary for brain function, but we also need LDL to fight infections. So think about when we're lowering, I have people that are on such high amounts of statins that their cholesterol is actually dangerously low. I mean, you need cholesterol for normal bodily functions, and you're suppressing it so far that they end up having all these issues. And statins are actually one of the most side effect ridden medications, even though they're one of the most common medications. I encourage you, if you are on a statin, Google the side effects of it, because most doctors never go over what the actual side effects are, and people are told to take that for the rest of their life. But some of the side effects of the cholesterol medications of statins, erectile dysfunction, and I think it's
right there, every man's like, all right, get me off of this.
But I think that it's the number 2 selling, so statins I think are the number 1 medication, and then erectile dysfunction medications are like the number 2. So you know, they
good market they got.
They cause the issue and then they sell the cure with it. So erectile dysfunction, memory issues, and because it's lowering the fats, our brain is made of fat and cholesterol. We need that. So you have memory issues, Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative conditions, and all of these are side effects because we're actually not helping the body by lowering it. And I want to be very clear that, you know, if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, whatever crisis you may have going on, we're not saying that it's never necessary to take a medication. If you're at a crisis point, you may need a medication. I literally had somebody that their cholesterol was in the 700-800s, which is insane. That's a crisis point. So yes, you may need to take the medication for a period of time, but it's not a long-term solution. We take the medication to manage crisis, we fix what's causing the problem, and then we get off the medication. That's what healthcare should be, is not going on it for the rest of your life.
So action step right away, and this will be the first time we talk about it. We're going to talk about it more throughout this dialogue, but we're going to have a 5 Essentials challenge that's specific in improving overall health. It's going to be specific in supporting and allowing your body's cardiovascular system, preventing heart disease, supporting just health in general. So if you're already ready just from the first 25 minutes of us talking, you know you need to take action, text HIIT, HIIT, to our office, 904-379-4621. Again, it's HIIT. That's going to set you up in our 5 Essentials Challenge, where we're going to be going over nutrition, toxicity, how you support the spine, mindset, and exercise. So all 5 Essentials are going to be covered in this challenge, and it'll make sure that you get all the resources for it. Again, it's HIIT, HIIT, 2 I's, to 904-379-4621, and that'll get you signed up for the challenge.
And this is an accountability challenge. All of us on our team are doing it alongside you and encouraging you with it. So we're going to really help hold your hand and get the lifestyle changes to correct the cause of the issues. But for many of you, if you are currently, on medications because you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure or high cholesterol, or if you have ever taken a statin in the past, it's important because those medications can cause long-term issues. Even when you stop taking them, if you've ever been on a statin in the past, there are major deficiencies that start to build up in the body. So if you're taking a high blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication, or you have in the past, there are important nutrients that we make sure that that you're taking to allow your body to heal from the damage that was there in the past. Now, supplements don't fix the problem. You can have somebody who is dead that you give a supplement to, it's not going to bring them back to life. You have somebody who is dead that you give a medication to, it's not going to bring them back to life. So that is an outside in, but it's going to help us when we are at crisis, because those medications have depleted so much from the body. So I want to go through a few of the supplements that are going to be important that we're addressing. So curcumin, if you have had high cholesterol or high blood pressure, curcumin C3, and a good quality one. I'm going to preface, do not just go to Walmart and buy the supplements that we talk about, because they're not regulated, and don't waste your money on crappy supplements.
Well, when we talk about the neurodegenerative disease process associated with cardiovascular disease, there's been numerous research articles and studies done that have found and linked curcumin, specifically the 3 active compounds in the curcuminoid plant that are incredibly effective at helping support cognition, brain function, and decreasing the severity of neurodegenerative disease that may already be in place, but actually even beginning to reverse that process. So things like Parkinson's and dementia, supporting and allowing the body to even correct or reduce the severity of that process that may already be in place for some of our family members. Supplementing with curcumin has been shown to have a huge impact on health.
Yeah, so it doesn't, if we're eating high amounts of sugar and we're still making our damaging lifestyle choices, we're not going to just rely on curcumin to fix everything, but it's going to help us in the immediate crisis point as we're starting to make these changes. CoQ10 is another really important one. So if you are currently taking a statin, your doctor should have told you that you need to be taking a CoQ10 supplement, not you should, you need to. Statins deplete the body of CoQ10, which is actually the enzyme that your heart muscle uses for energy. So it is essential in the body. So if you are taking a statin, or if you have taken a statin in the past, you want to be on a CoQ10 supplement to help increase those levels. The other supplements that, if you are already at a crisis situation while we're making these changes, are red yeast rice, which helps with blood vessel viscosity, the ability of it to expand and contract appropriately. Plant sterols also helps with the blood vessel viscosity. And if with high blood pressure issues that you've had, we're going to talk about in a little bit nitric oxide, how important that is. There's a blood pressure support of specific nutrients that helps with the damage that's been there, and helping to boost up nitric oxide in the body. Those are all supplements that are going to be important if you currently have high blood pressure or high cholesterol. So again, you're going to make the changes that to correct what's causing it. The body doesn't just raise your blood pressure for no reason because it's stupid, or because your genetics are stupid and told it to just raise the blood pressure for no reason. There's a cause. There's something that your body needs support with, why the blood pressure is going up in the first place. Your body needs to increase oxygen. Blood is important. So we have to get to what's causing it. But we carry those supplements. There are other good brands out there, but again, please just don't go buy them at Walmart, the cheap versions. We can get those in if you want to, you can reach out to us if you want to know which ones that you should currently be taking. And if you find a brand, we can check that for you and make sure that it's a high quality, third party verified, that you're not wasting your money on something.
Do you want to run through the supplements in order? So if they're watching and taking notes, you want to run through those again real quick?
Mm-hmm. So if you currently are on a statin medication for high cholesterol, or you've been on one in the past, you want to be doing curcumin, C3, CoQ10. You also want to be on red yeast rice and plant sterols. So those are ones that if you've been dealing with cholesterol issues. High blood pressure, if you've been dealing with high blood pressure, you want to be taking the curcumin C3, the blood pressure support, BP support, and the NOx. So those are the supplements that you want to be on for that.
Just real quick with the nitric oxide supplement, or like NOx, nitric oxide supplements have been out on the market for nearly 15-20 years, very mainstream or common in the fitness industry. It's used as it's in a lot of pre-workout supplements, and basically what it's doing, it's expanding your blood vessels.
Let's just get into nitric oxide here, because we were going to talk about it later, but I think this would be good.
So when we talk about this specifically, if you're expanding your blood vessels, you're getting more blood flow into a specific area, it's going to have a big impact on working out. From a blood pressure standpoint, I think the same thing. It's going to open up a bigger hose, so there's less pressure needed to move the blood or water through it. But there's a lot of really, really crappy nitric oxide supplements. So this is something that I would encourage you not to just buy off Amazon. If you have questions about ways you can even increase the nitric oxide naturally without having this supplement, because I am very big on getting as much from food and movement as possible, and there's absolutely ways that you can have a big impact on nitric oxide. We have nitric oxide receptors in our nose, so if you are breathing through your mouth all day, just by shifting and being aware of breathing through your nose, that has a huge impact on increasing nitric oxide. So there's a lot that you can do, and I would encourage you, this is one supplement specific to blood pressure or cardiovascular support that I would encourage you to ask for help.
And we look at nitric oxide, it's a gas that your body makes. So when we're talking about supplementing it, you're not actually getting nitric oxide in the supplement that you're taking. Your body has to produce it. This is not something that we can just magically put in from the outside. But the problem is, one of the causes of high blood pressure is the nitric oxide deficiency, because your body has not had the precursors to make it, because it needs certain nutrients from plants, different foods, in order to be the building blocks to make that nitric oxide. And then also the issues with how we breathe. Like Zach said, there's nitric oxide receptors in our nose. Most of us breathe through our mouth. We have all these digestive issues which stem from, or connect to the sinus issues. So people are mouth breathers when we're supposed to be breathing through our nose. So the activation of production of nitric oxide and the issue of not having the building blocks is why we have the nitric oxide deficiency, and that will be a cause of high blood pressure. So if we put in the supplement, basically gives you the building blocks. Some of the foods that are important that help increase your body's production of nitric oxide: beets, pomegranate, garlic, grapeseed extracts. Those are all important foods. And so, and again, breathing through your nose. So we actually have breath work workshops that we do, which are great. But the NOx is going to be putting in more of those nutrients to help your body with making the nitric oxide. And we've had people have significant drops in blood pressure by being able to increase their body's production of nitric oxide. Like 15 points, we've had people have reduction with that.
And we just sat and talked about supplements for a little bit, but just to be clear, supplements are not the end-all be-all. You can't out-supplement a really crappy lifestyle. So while this can be a valuable tool and something to get your body moving in the right direction, if you are relying only on supplements to fortify or get you to health, you're setting yourself up for just a tremendous letdown.
I love this analogy. If you're just relying on supplements without changing your nutrition or lifestyle, it's like cranking down the thermostat in your house to put cool air in, while you leave all your windows open and the heat and humidity are coming in. So you see, that doesn't make any sense to do it that way. So we look at supplements, our nutritional insurance. It should be, we take a supplement to correct what we're not getting from our nutrition. So if you have years of crappy nutrition and crappy habits, you're going to need to do more supplements right now to rebuild the body from where it's been. But then you'll be able to reduce that, and you really only have to take the supplementation that's necessary to correct the nutrient deficiency from soil depletion right now. So I think this is a crazy statistic when you look at right now you have to have 33 apples. You have to eat 33 apples to get the same amount of nutrients from 3 apples 30 years ago. So because of we don't practice regenerative farming, there's so much soil depletion, there's a lot of nutrient deficiencies. So yes, we want to say you want to get all your nutrients from food. That's how God intended. But our environment is different now. So there are some core supplements that you are going to need to take long term. But right now, some of the supplements that we're telling you, very specifically, are to help get your body out of crisis initially and build up the deficiencies that have been there.
And I just said prior to this that I like to rely on nutrition and exercise, what I can do without having to supplement to avoid taking supplements, but I still take them because, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
33.
You'd have to eat 11 apples a day. No one's eating 11 apples in a day. Or if you are, please stop, because you shouldn't be eating that many apples in a day. That's not going to build health either. So, because we have farmed ourselves into nutrient depletion, there is definitely a need and necessity for supplements in our life. We just need to be specific in the types that we are taking in, and not just taking a supplement for every symptom. So when it comes down to the other side of it, when you look at if we're going to issue another caveat with supplementation, a big factor in inflammation is this metabolic inflexibility. So if we don't know what our body is constantly adapting to or what's triggering this adaptation, then finding out specifically, doing some specific testing to see what exactly your body needs for exact support and specific support is absolutely a worthwhile path to go down. So we also do metabolic testing if you wanted to get more specific in finding core supplementation that is ideal for you and what your body is dealing with and adapting to from environmental stressors or genetic stressors. Then let us know, reach out to us. We can go through what that process looks like as well. And then we can run through specifics with you for supplementation, nutrition, and exercise, along with detox and neurological support.
So we've been talking about inflammation, is the cause of high blood pressure, that, we need to stop things that cause inflammation. And I just want to hit on really quick, what inflammation is. So inflammation is actually a healing mechanism. So if you sprain your ankle, if you roll your ankle, it swells up. That's inflammation. It gets hot. It's trying to heal the area. So there's certain things that trigger inflammation, that trigger damage, that the body will then inflame to try to heal the damage that's there. But if we don't stop the damage coming in, we stay in this state of chronic inflammation. So I think of inflammation, if you look at it, your ankle swelling, hot, throbbing, that's happening internal in the body. When we have inflammation happening, when we're putting things in that are not right for our body, we're damaging our tissues, and we literally have a fire going on inside of our bodies. So some of the things that we're putting into our body are toxic foods. So when we look at, we are eating so many foods that God never designed for us to eat, that they are man-made processed foods, that, there's chemicals, there's preservatives, there's artificial dyes, there's all of these things that if you read an ingredients list and you don't know how to pronounce anything, they are man-made chemicals that we are trying to substitute as food. And that actually, it's our body's not meant to take those in, so it will cause inflammation. We have a lot of environmental toxins that will cause inflammation. Sugar is one of the primary sources nutritionally of inflammation in the body. And I know there's going to be people listening to this like, well, I'm good because I don't eat a lot of sweets. It is not just about the sweets. If you consume bread, rice, pasta, ketchup, it is all of lunch meat, all of those have sugar in them. So it is not just the sweets. The majority of what we are consuming is sugar, and it is toxic to the body. And it literally, think about swelling and pain and fire is like what sugar creates inside of our bodies. And that's the number one nutritional thing that we need to be taking out. And even medications that we've taken. So the drugs, they're damaging to our liver and kidneys, even though medication might be necessary in a crisis point. Medications and drugs, they will cause liver and kidney damage. And so that in itself will create inflammation if you're on a medication long term. So those are just to kind of give you perspective of, the things that are happening on an ongoing basis that are causing the inflammation in the body. And we're going to get into some of the nutrition misconceptions also.
Probably one of the biggest misconceptions nutritionally is this idea of fat makes us fat or fat makes us unhealthy, when in reality fat needs to be the foundation of our nutrition. And when we were just running through all the things that can be inflammatory, consuming inflammatory fats or damaged processed fats, fats from something that doesn't easily produce fat, like corn or rapeseed, which is a very highly genetically modified plant in Canada.
The canola.
Those things are going to drive inflammation, and then when you add the inflammatory component on to the hormonal disruption that those fats also increase the likelihood of developing, it's one of the most damaging, dangerous things that you can be doing to yourself nutritionally. So when we look at fats, for years we've kind of used fat as the scapegoat. If we want to increase our chances of not developing heart disease, we need to go fat-free. We need to take the fat out of our diets, and that will make us healthy. But we've been doing that for almost 40 years now. We've been fat-free as a culture in the majority for nearly 4 decades. And in 4 decades, we've gotten less healthy. We are more obese. They said the childhood obesity has quadrupled in the past 40 years. We have hormone issues. Hormone-based cancer is one of the more common types of cancers that men and women are developing. We're seeing neurodegenerative diseases as one of the top 4 killers in our country. So Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson, MS, those are issues and things that are top 4 cause of death in our country. We have issues with our body using and processing fats, and we're the number 1 cause of death in our country is heart disease.
Well, and so just let's look at, the meta-analysis that they've done. They've looked at countries that consume more fat. We consume the least amount of fat compared to other countries, yet we have higher rates of heart disease. So we have absolutely been lied to. It is not about fat. If you look at the numbers, and we consume less fat in our country, but we have higher rates of heart disease, when there are other countries as a whole, we're talking about these huge meta-analysis studies, there are countries that they consume way more fat and they have way less heart disease in their countries. And so that is a myth that we've been lied to about. It's not fat. Now, it's important to know the types of fat that we need to be consuming.
And there's a giant list of good, healthy fats that are healthy and beneficial for humans to consume, and then there's a giant list of damaged, processed, terribly refined fats that are horrible for humans to consume, and we do go through this in our Essential Foundation class. So we actually have one coming up June 10th. If you text ESSENTIAL to our office, 904-379-4621, that'll get you signed up for the Essential Foundation class. It's free. We go through fats, carbs, protein, how you clean up the bad and replace with the good. And rather than go through an entire nutrition workshop in this workshop as well, just sign up for the Essential Foundation class. Again, text ESSENTIAL to the office, and that'll get you signed up. It's June 10th, which is Thursday.
Yeah.
So it'll get you signed up for that. All the details for the workshop will come in a confirmation text. Once you send that in, Essential, to our office, you'll get the day and time, and you'll be registered for the workshop.
And again, if you sign up for the challenge, if you text HIIT, H-I-I-T, to the front desk, we're going to send you with the challenge resources, a nutrition guide that talks about the fats that you want to increase and fats that you want to avoid. So basically, I like this saying, if you fry oil, you fry your health. So when we take a good oil like extra virgin olive oil and we heat it at a high heat, it becomes damaged or oxidized. So when you start to see olive oil start to smoke, you are actually damaging the oil, and then if we consume that, it triggers inflammation in the body and starts to cause damage. So that's where the oils can be very damaging, is when we're oxidizing them and heating them beyond what they should be. So we want to use avocado oil or extra virgin unrefined coconut oil at high heats, because they can withstand the smoke point higher, and so they don't have the damage that happens at a high heat. So it's really important that we know the types of oils that we're consuming, and then also the man-made, the hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, those are ones that we absolutely stay away from. It's taking oil, it is altering it, and then it's going to start to create damage and inflammation when we consume it in the body.
So we want to replace partially hydrogenated oils, which would be trans fats, canola oil, vegetable
margarine,
oil, and like soybean oil. Those are like the top 5 that you want to eliminate. Margarine is going to fall into
We've
that
been told
trans fat.
margarine is the better option, and I still have people who doctors are telling them to take out butter and use margarine. Like I can't believe it's not butter. Yeah, it's not butter, and it's a couple molecules away from being plastic. You can find videos where people have put margarine and butter outside, and the ants will just go to the butter. So they know that that's real food, and they can't even recognize margarine as a food source because it is so just altered. It is man-made, it is artificial, it's not a food. And so if we're being told to take something in like that, it's toxic to the body. Margarine is basically toxic. We want to go back to eating a healthy, a grass-fed butter that is close to its natural source as possible. So that's important when it comes to fats overall. Let's see, anything else from the nutrition?
Well, I do want to touch on, when we're talking about fats, another huge source of good healthy fats are going to be animal proteins. So if you are consuming beef, just make sure that it's 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, wild-caught fish. Eggs are fine. You can eat the yolk. You don't have to only eat the egg whites. Just think, if it comes from nature and the ingredients are very minimal, chances are it's not going to be really damaging to your health, especially if you're not over-consuming it or only eating one specific thing. Because if you only eat plants for a long period of time, there's going to be negative health impacts. If you only are eating processed damaged fats, it's going to have negative health impacts. So you want to make sure that you're consuming a wide variety of foods that have minimal ingredients, more food made by God, less food made by man. And if you stick to that as your guiding principle with nutrition, you're going to get through this challenge just fine, and you're going to increase your health regardless. That should be the motto and mantra for nutrition for the rest of your life. More food made by God, less food made by man.
Yeah, that's very simple when we start to go through it. So, we had kind of talked about damaging things to the body. Medication long-term, sugar, alcohol, those are things that actually cause fat to build up in the liver. One of the reasons that another cause of high cholesterol and a cause of high blood pressure, because if fat builds up in the liver, blood can't efficiently get filtered through it, so your blood pressure will start to increase in the process. One of the biggest things when we look at fatty liver disease is actually sugar consumption. They found that fructose causes the same damage to the liver as alcohol does. So I think that's really important when we're looking at the bad advice that we've been given. People know, oh, alcohol is bad for me, but literally fructose sugar causes the same damage to the body that alcohol does. So it's important we know and we look at how to prioritize things. So all of these stressors, the things that we're doing from the outside that are toxic or damaging to our body, it basically puts our body into a fight or flight state. So our body is in favor of survival, and we have beautifully balanced these two components of our nervous system. So we look at our body is regulated constantly to stay in balance, and we have these two components of our nervous system. A lot of people have heard of the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, and then we have the rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system. They both need to be in balance and activated at different times. But the problem is we get our body stuck in this fight or flight sympathetic state for long periods of time. And I think this is really amazing. So this was Dr. Cohen, who served as vice president of the Physicians Association, and he's written different books. He actually was quoted as saying that most heart attacks are likely caused by an imbalance in your central nervous system and your autonomic nervous system or unconscious nervous system. which controls the function of our internal organs. So again, this is a medical doctor who's saying that most heart attacks are likely caused by an imbalance in our central nervous system and our autonomic nervous system, which controls our internal organs. So we look at, if we are constantly doing things that put us into a fight or flight state and start to shift our autonomic nervous system into a chronic fight or flight, the sympathetic balance, we are literally putting ourselves in a chronic adaptation and disease process for long periods of time. You know, you look at, if a bear is chasing you, it's important that your sympathetic nervous system gets activated, because blood's going to go to your extremities. It's going to help you to run faster, to get the heck out of there, to save your life. Your body's actually going to stop wasting energy on things that aren't important in that moment. So it's going to stop digesting food. It's going to take blood away from sex organs, because you obviously don't need to think about that when you're running away from a bear. Your immune system will start to get suppressed during that time. Your cholesterol will actually increase, because remember, cholesterol is a healing mechanism. Your clotting factors will go up. All of that is happening in the moment. Your body is determining the brilliance of, if this bear gets me, I got to be ready to heal at my best and put all my energy into it. So it is trying to get the heck out of there. That's great for a situation if a bear is ever chasing you. Highly unlikely that happens in most people's world right now. But the problem is deadlines that we have to hit, stress at work, taking our kids to all these activities. We have this stress that gets initiated, and we have these, they're called perceived stressors. So the body doesn't know the difference between a real threat, a bear chasing you, or all of these deadlines and work stresses that you're going through. It just triggers that fight or flight response. So along with the mental stressors that we have all these physical stressors coming in of the toxins and bad foods and all lack of movement that we're doing. And so the reality is that we're getting our body into a place that we're setting ourselves up for failure. What I love so much about chiropractic, when I got introduced to this, why I fell in love with chiropractic, is chiropractic works on restoring the brain and body communication. So our central nervous system is our brain and spinal cord. And that's what connects the brain, which is regulating balance and adapting and survival and controlling healing. It connects everything together through the spinal cord out to the organs. So you look at, if our brain and body are communicating, our brain is always going to be able to rebalance itself. And so every time that you get adjusted, you're literally putting your body through a reset. You're recalibrating everything that's been off. So if you've spent years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years not taking care of your health, not doing the right things to support it, putting your body in an imbalanced stress state, the beautiful thing is that every time you get adjusted, you start recalibrating that balance. It literally takes your body out of fight or flight. It allows your body to adapt to the stressors better. And so along with implementing the other essentials, the lifestyle changes, the beautiful thing is that chiropractic allows your body to heal and function at its best and to know exactly what it needs to do. And so you look at, the central nervous system is protected by bones. Our skull protects our brain, and our spinal cord is protected by our spine. But we look at, there's traumas that can shift the alignment and cause damage on the nerves. We know car accidents, falls, we have repetitive stressors with work, we have birth trauma. So we understand the traumas that can cause misalignments in the spine. But one of the biggest reasons that we have neurological interference and damage to our spine is because of sitting long periods of time. And how many people in this past year has sitting increased? So I know a lot of people went virtual, more and more Zoom meetings. We're sitting here right now. You guys are probably sitting watching this. Kids, their physical activity was taken out. Kids are spending more and more time on technology, on devices, and they're sitting long periods of time. Sitting is one of the most damaging things for the body. And so if we're doing this for long periods of time, we have to understand we're creating a chronic stressor on the body. So when we sit long periods of time, we actually take out the curves in our spine. We lose the curve in our neck. We know that's called the arc of life. When we start to lose the curve in the neck, we start to put tension on the spinal cord. When we put tension on the spinal cord, we immediately start to interfere with the brain and body communication. And what is crazy to think about is when you have tension on the spinal cord and nerves, you put yourself into fight or flight mode. So you put yourself in that mode that a bear is chasing you when you're sitting long periods of time. And so that's why it's so important, you guys, when we take x-rays to know what your spine looks like, because you may not have symptoms of those misalignments that are affecting nerve function. You may not have symptoms of that yet. And so we want to know exactly where the misalignments are and what the structure of your spine looks like, so we can constantly be correcting and supporting the body and removing the neurological interference. Because if you stay with those misalignments, every day your body is getting sicker and it's not able to adapt and heal at the level that God designed for us. And so you're coming in for your adjustments. We adjust you based on your x-rays, and we do the progress updates looking at your x-rays, but you also need to do your home exercises, because the adjustments are going to be recalibrating, starting to move the structure back, but in between there, we don't want to be putting yourself back into a sympathetic state. So your home exercises, specifically your wobble and your traction, are literally regenerating the fluid, putting nutrients into your spinal cord to help heal the brain and the nerves. So you need to be doing those wobble and the traction exercises twice a day to get proper spinal motion in there. And when you understand, like, you're literally making your brain healthier by doing those wobble exercises. You know, people are like, oh, I do this silly wobble thing. You're literally making your brain healthier when you do that. And so that's the importance of supporting the healing power within.
Well, and what's amazing is we talk about with exercise specifically how we're supposed to move, we're required to move as humans, and we're going to touch on exercise in a second, but the component of movement that satisfies that genetic requirement is moving your spine through various ranges of motion. So when we traction up, we follow a specific axis, the y-axis, and when we rotate around, we're satisfying the requirement of movement through rotation. And then when we flex and extend, we're getting every plane of motion covered with our spine. That's why it's such an effective way to offset degeneration. So you have traction, your rotation, wobble exercises, you have lateral flexion, rotation, flexion, extension from the hips and low back, you traction open the space in the neck and upper back. It satisfies, or begins to satisfy, the movement that we have, or the requirement that we have as human beings to move our spine and move our bodies. Now, it doesn't satisfy the cardiovascular component of that, but it gets your body moving, and that's why it's such an effective way to offset the degenerative change that we put on our body by physical stressors or toxins that we're exposed to, the emotional, mental stressors. You know, we have a friend of ours that said, you know, when you have a tiger in your bedroom, it's really hard to sleep. And I think that's, you know, yep. But we're creating the tiger, we're creating the bear by looking at our phone, we're creating those emotional stressors, and it makes it hard to get rest. You're not satisfying, we're not earning our right to put our head on the pillow because we're creating bears in our lives, and we're constantly under these stressors.
So along, you know, I got to talk about my favorite thing, which is the chiropractic nervous system, but what is essential that we do that we have lacked this past year is intentionally move our bodies, and that's needed. So Zach gets to talk about his favorite thing.
Well, you know, and exercise is one of those things where people tend to avoid it because it's hard and it makes you uncomfortable. But the things that are worth doing are the things that are worth it being hard. It's worth being uncomfortable for, because the outcome, the reward, the light at the end of that tunnel is the ability to take on more, the ability to reach more people, to live at a higher capacity. So we had a friend last year say, you know, we get to choose to do hard things. We choose to do the things that are hard, so that way if we're ever forced to do something that's hard, it really puts it into perspective. And exercise is one of those things. You can't, if you have heart disease, if you have increased levels of LDL, if your cholesterol is out of whack, it is impossible to improve them without exercise.
To actually fix the cause. Now, you can artificially make those numbers look good with medication, but it is impossible to correct the cause of it if you're not exercising.
So, you know, I'm not going to count medication, because I don't think it's impossible to fix that without exercise. Because we would argue that taking a medication, taking a supplement to bring down something symptomatically is not fixing it. It's not addressing the cause. So if the cause of increased cholesterol, high LDL levels, is because of lack of movement, lack of oxygen, and stress in the liver, we have to increase oxygen. And the only way that we're going to be doing that is by moving our bodies. There's been plenty of research that shows that disease processes don't do well in an environment that is high in oxygen. So the easiest way to do that is by exercising and increasing our oxygen and respiratory rate.
So adding oxygen to the body and having an oxygen-rich environment is health promoting. When you are oxygen deficient, it is disease promoting. So when you're not exercising, you're literally in an oxygen deficient, disease promoting environment with your body.
So when we talk about exercise, the other objection of it, aside from it being hard, uncomfortable, I don't want to be sweaty, it takes two. And that's easily one of the biggest hurdles for most. If our day is packed, we're running around kids to sports or extracurricular activities, we're working a ton, we have obligations that we can't get out of, whether they're good or bad. Finding time for yourself, an hour, 90 minutes, maybe even more when it comes to traveling to a gym, getting ready, exercising, getting back home, getting dinner ready, to carve out that chunk of time in your day is unrealistic for a lot of people. But in reality, we don't need that much time. We just need 15 minutes, 3 days a week minimum. But in our challenge that we're going to be doing for our 5 Essential Challenge in after this workshop, we're going to be working out every single day. We're going to get some form of movement every day for 30 days. Now, it may not be the most intense, but it's going to be movement every single day. If we're satisfying that movement daily, we're instantly setting ourselves up for greater success. But when we talk about exercise specifically, we're looking at two types: high intensity and low intensity. High intensity exercise is going to be the biggest bang for your buck. If you're time crunched, you don't have time to carve out an hour or more. If you only want to work out for 15 minutes a day, 3 days a week, and still see the improvements and the benefits of exercise, it has to be at a high intensity. We have to be getting our heart rate elevated beyond 80% of our maximum. If we're working out at a moderate or low intensity, you have to work out for a longer period of time. But the amazing thing about that, the difference between the two is that you don't get as much benefit for working out at a low intensity for a long period of time as you do working out at a high intensity for a short period of time.
Well, and when we go specifically to heart health, research has shown, we thought for a long period of time that the cardiovascular, the long duration aerobic workouts were what was going to build heart health, but they have actually found that the shorter period of time, the shorter workouts duration with a higher intensity are actually better for building a strong, healthy heart and the regenerative effects. So building lean muscle is actually more beneficial to the heart than doing long duration of just the aerobic exercises. So that's different than what I feel like we've been lied to for a long time. Like you got to, do an hour and a half of walking every single day or aerobic exercise. No, a short duration, high intensity, building lean muscle type of workout is actually what has the biggest benefit when it comes to heart health.
Well, in there's 5 factors that are evaluated and looked at for increasing longevity in general. And 2 of them, heart rate variability and VO2 max, are only going to be improved through exercise. There's no supplement that's going to improve or increase your VO2 max permanently. There's no supplement or medication you can take to improve or make your heart rate variability better. The only way to do it is by moving your body.
And if you're not fulfilling the genetic requirement that we have to move, you are going to continue to have the genetic risk for heart disease. If you have your genes have high blood pressure and you're not working out, you're basically letting that disease process happen. If you start to work out, you can alter the genetic expression. You start to fulfill that genetic requirement and you can alter the expression of what genes that you have. So basically, you change the cards that you've been dealt is when we start to...
ace up the sleeve.
Yeah, you literally, put the cards in your favor when you start to fulfill that genetic requirement for movement. So I'm going to say this very clear again, that it is impossible to have health if you are not intentionally moving your body and working out. It is impossible. You cannot do all this nutrition and supplementation or take medications. You have to correct the cause and fulfill. If If you're not exercising, you're missing something, and we need to work on supporting that. Your hormones will be shifted into an adaptive state if you're not working out. It's going to raise your insulin. It's going to start to trigger an inflammatory response. And we're going to start to see your LDL. The only way to get your LDL in range is exercising. We've got to get our body moving, because otherwise we're forcing more stress and damage to happen on our liver because of the adaptation response that happens.
Well, and the thing I love about exercise is not the fact that it's hard or challenging or makes you look a certain way or feel a certain way. It's the fact that it doesn't matter where you're starting. Exercise and intensity is relative to you. So if you talk about giving it your 100%, giving it your best effort, it's different than my best effort. We're going to exercise differently. And I love that about exercise. It doesn't matter where you're starting. It doesn't matter if you're deconditioned or an elite athlete that's been working out 95% of your life. Intensity, getting to 80-90% of your maximum heart rate is different. It's going to look different for every single person. And if you are new or you haven't exercised and you've just been scared to get started, the great news about exercise is that it's not going to take a whole lot of effort to get your heart rate up. And that's okay. But the beauty of it is that when you're satisfying the requirement that you have to move your body, you improve, you get better, and then your intensity gets to get better. You get to challenge yourself in a different way. So there's always a new road, there's always a new path to go down with exercise, because it doesn't matter where you start, it's a journey that never ends. So you just have to literally put one foot in front of the other as fast as you can, and you'll see improvement, and you'll satisfy the requirement that we have for movement. Humans became what we are as predators by literally running animals to death. They would chase animals like antelope and gazelle. We would chase them. Early humans would chase down animals in the heat of the day until they got to the point where they just couldn't continue the animal couldn't continue on anymore. It didn't mean that we caught them right off the bat. We just kept going. And we stressed that animal out so much that it couldn't go any further. That's how early humans got meat and survived for hundreds and thousands of years, by moving. So if you're not satisfying that requirement that we have to move our bodies, you're doing a disservice, and your ancestors are rolling over in their grave, because you have to move your body every single day. But you have to move it intensely, at least 3 times a day, to get the most out of exercise.
So the saying that when we lose our health, we lose everything, I'm going to stay on the positive side of that and say that when we gain our health, we gain the world. We live a life without limitations. We're able to reach our God-given potential. Everything changes when we are in a mindset of making sure that we're taking care of the temple that God gave us. We're taking care of our body and living the best life for the time that God has us here. And none of us know how long God has planned for us to be here. It is our job to take care of our body and make sure that we are living, not just surviving. How many people are just going through each day surviving and getting by? We want you actually thriving and living your best life and getting to play with your kids and if you have grandkids or your future grandkids. I love that, your parents can literally play with the kids. Like it makes me so happy, because they've been moving towards health for the past 10 years, and they're healthier now than when I first met them. And so I get to watch them run with the kids, and I get to watch your dad squat down and pick up the kids and throw them up, and it's amazing to actually live life and not just get by.
Well, I was looking at pictures of our wedding. We had our anniversary less than a week ago, our 13th anniversary, and I was looking at pictures of our wedding, and my mom now looks younger than she did at the wedding, and it's amazing to see. There's a chronological age and a biological age, and they're different. If we say age is just a number, time is relative, your biology is not, and you can be younger biologically than what the chronology says you are. So you can be younger at a cellular level than the number of years you've been sitting on a rock spinning around the sun. So you don't have to let age be the limiting factor for you getting started. Also, it doesn't matter if you're 70, 80, 90 years old, you can still improve your health. And by moving your body, by eating more food made by God, less food made by man, by removing toxins, decreasing stress, and making sure that your brain and body are communicating by a fully functioning nervous system, it's a no-brainer given that you're absolutely going to improve your health regardless of age. Your chronological age is what it is, but your biological age can improve and get younger.
So this is what we're going to help you with the challenge.
Make you Benjamin Button.
we're going to really help you guys with. We've been blessed to know this lifestyle and be living it now for almost 15 years. We've been moving in a pursuit of health, where I spent the majority of the beginning part of my life not even thinking about my health until there was a crisis. So we're going to give you guys the support and tools with this challenge to be able to start moving forward with all 5 essentials. This is not just a go hard with nutrition or go hard with exercise. It's not just picking and choosing. We're going to the basics of all 5 essentials, and this is where we're going to start to hold your hand. Again, our team is doing this with you to get you moving forward the best that you can. So this is a 5 essentials challenge. Again, if you guys want to be signed up for it, text HIIT, HIIT,
and
to the front
HIIT,
desk.
If you've heard that, like HIIT training or HIIT stands for high intensity interval training, HIIT. Just
while you're texting HIIT.
Yeah.
So yeah, text that to the front desk, and then you'll receive everything that you need to get started with the challenge. The one thing that you need to do is text HIIT, and then you need to download an app called Marco Polo. That's how we're going to give you guys the accountability. So it's a free app. You don't have to upgrade to the premium account with it. You can just do the free version of it, but create an account with your first and last name, because we're going to add everyone that signs up for the challenge. We're going to break you up into different groups where our team is going to help to lead you through this. It's going to be checking in with each other. So we've had so many patients tell us, I just need accountability. I need you guys to hold me responsible. And I love that we've had patients tell us, like, you have permission to kick my butt, to tell me what I need to do, to call me out when I'm not doing it. And so this is the best way that we can think of to have constant interaction with you, not just when you're in the office, but on a daily basis through this 30 days to hold your hand, get momentum, and get you started with everything. So the 5 Essentials Challenge, the chiropractic part of the challenge is you're going to be doing your home care every day. So home care every day. Your wobble and traction is most important that we're doing on a consistent basis with this movement challenge. So you're going to be checking in. You're actually going to get little calendars that you can check off each day, the stuff that you've done, to make sure that you have some accountability. And I like checklists because it gives me endorphins and dopamine. So that's going to be there for you.
Part of the exercise component as well is going to be your spinal warm-ups, traction and wobble, as part of the warm-up for your exercise. So if it takes only 5 minutes to get through your exercises, which it should, we should be moving fast through these wobble, like we're not doing it slow. We want to get a little bit of a sweat by moving through those wobble exercises quickly. That's going to be part of the warm-up. So you do traction, then wobble really quickly through it, then you do your workout. So that's going to check part of one of the requirements right off the box, or check the box right off the bat by doing the spinal exercises. Your warm-up exercises in the office are going to be your warm-up for your exercise, your actual workout, and the stabilizing exercises after. So if you're doing it 2 times a day, you have your spinal warm-ups, workout, stabilizing exercises after the workout.
So then that's going to go into the exercise part of the challenge. We're going to give you daily movement exercises that are about 12 minutes for the workout. So you look at the 12-minute workout and like your 5-minute home care exercises, the movement ones, you're going to be fulfilling that and knocking it out in a short period of time. Then we have the mindset component. We're going to have you do gratitude every day.
Well, real quick, let me go back to the exercise. So the exercises that you're going to be getting are beginner friendly. If you are more experienced with exercise, they are going to still be fine to do.
Just go harder.
You have to go harder. So I learned that even with practicing yoga, it's not just holding or standing in a pose. It's giving 100% effort in every single pose that has the impact. So just by going through the motions of the exercise is not going to do it for you. If we're saying you need to be at 80 to 90% of your maximum effort. And if you're not tracking it, or you're not tracking your heart rate with a heart rate monitor, which we do have options for you in the office. You can track it through your watch, you can count your pulse, but we have heart rate monitors available in the office. If you're not tracking it, then you have to use a perceived exertion rating, or PER rating. Perceived rating of exertion, or PRE, I think is actually the technical term. You need to be at, on a scale of 0 to 10, you need to be at a 9. Like, I can barely go any faster with intensity. And if you're not going as hard as you can, you're wasting your time. So go 100% maximum effort during these exercises to get the most out of it. And if you are holding back, you're sandbagging, you're not going to see the changes and improvement that you need to be seeing. So if you're a beginner, you're 100%. It's going to look different than somebody who's been working out forever. It's 100% maximum effort during the movements.
And then the mindset component, we're going to be doing the gratitude. We're going to start our day with writing down 3 things that you're grateful for. It's amazing how much that's going to start to put you out of the stress response and start to change your mindset into a positive spin going forward. So you're going to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And we're going to do the nutrition. This part of the challenge, for you guys that have done nutrition challenges with us, this is going to be going back to the basics, but encouraging consistency. So this challenge is all homemade meals. So we don't have rules. You can be doing core plan. The goal of this is to be doing healthy ingredients and knowing what the ingredients are that you're actually consuming. So when we're eating out, when we're eating a lot of processed food, we're putting preservatives and chemicals and all of these additional things that are toxic to the body. Just doing home cooked meals is going to eliminate such a huge component of stressors and increase the nutrient density. So you can actually go to maxliving.com. There's a bunch of recipes on there for ideas of, you can actually do all the nutrition off of that. If you don't know where to start, you can plan your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all off at maxliving.com, the recipes that are on there.
Or Align Your Health.
Align Your Health book, yeah. So if you don't know where to start with the recipes, I personally just like really simple, quick things that I can put together. So, you know, I look at, my mindset has always been that cooking has to take me away from my kids. You know, with working, I don't have a lot of time with them. But changing your perspective of it is get your kids involved with it. So, you know, we're going to sit down on Sunday and have our kids pick out which meals they want to do for the week. So they get to be a part of choosing it. And then they're going to be a part of helping to prep everything. So they get to be involved in it, and health becomes a really part of their lifestyle, which is what I want for our children. So we're going to be doing it all homemade meals, as much as you can make homemade. So buying things with simple ingredients, like if you buy a jelly, you know, you want to get an organic one, but if you can make it homemade, that's going to be even better. So that's the goal with this. Like, not a ton of rules, but we're having healthy ingredients and trying to make as much as we can from scratch. I think this is going to be great with the kids getting out of school. We're starting this June 1st. So with getting the kids out of school, getting into new routines, kids, all they eat is processed food when they're in school, and you really can't control what the school is doing. So this allows us to pull back the control to the home.
You can't control what the schools are doing. It's been more evident this year than ever before. And
then the last thing is the detox component of it. So we're going to be drinking water first thing in the morning because our body detoxes at night. So we want to help flush those toxins out right away. And then you're also going to be, we'll give you the instructions with the challenge details of how to sign up for the, each day you're going to get something to focus on as far as removing toxicity. So each day you're going to get a new email of things to start to be aware of as we're focusing on removing toxins out of our life.
So you're going to text our office 3 times. You're going to text HIIT to sign up for the challenge, HIIT. You're going to text Essentials to sign up for the Essential Foundation class, which will go through toxicity, nutrition, exercise, nervous system, mindset. We're going to go through all of that a little bit more in depth. So you'll text Essentials to, or Essential, no S, to the office. And then you're going to text 30 detox. So the number 30 detox, all one word, to the office, and that's going to get you the toxicity resources that you'll get daily, 30-day action steps that you can take in minimizing your exposure to toxins. The biggest component with this, when you sign up for the challenge, and we haven't discussed this, so I'm going to surprise you too. This is not available to people that are not patients. So if you're watching this, you're a patient in our office, you don't have access. We aren't sharing this publicly. So if you're watching this, it's because you are coming to the office, you're getting adjusted. If you want your family members or friends to do this along with you, if you want them to sign up and be able to participate in this challenge, they have to be checked in our office. So the action step and the only requirement that would have a cost associated with somebody that's not currently getting adjusted in the office is the cost of an exam and x-rays if they're needed. And to limit or lower the bar, or the barrier for them to get started, we'll do it for $20 for the initial exam. And that would cover whatever's needed on that first visit, aside from if they needed to get adjusted. But we can get them checked, we can see where they're at, because you can't do a 5 Essentials challenge without knowing what your spine looks like. You can't do your spinal warm-ups as part of your warm-up for the exercise if you don't know how you should be warming up. You can't do your stabilizing exercises if you don't know how you're going to be stabilizing your spine. So a requirement for this challenge is that we know what your spine looks like, and the only way to satisfy that is to be evaluated in the office.
And it's really exciting to see. We have had people come into our office who they're like, I've tried the nutrition, I've tried the exercise, I've tried these things. It's when we tie all the essentials together is when we see the results. And I can tell you for myself personally, with the autoimmune issues that I had, it was when I did all 5 essentials is actually when my body was able to heal. So I saw little improvements with other things that I did, but when I actually did all the 5 essentials is when my body experienced healing. And that's what we are excited for you guys to experience during this time is we're going to the basics, but we're doing all the essentials in the process.
All in with